Hey, it's me, MLB. Here's part 5, the final part of On Me. Enjoy. You heard his drunken call from across the bar and looked up. Best get him some help, your co-worker said to you when he saw that you had seen and heard the taxi request. I'll sort it, you replied, putting your glasses down and then grabbing a towel to wipe your hands while you walked around the bar top and made your way over to the table. You need a taxi, you asked the quite drunken fellow hero of Nemuri's. Yes, please, but don't call it in here, I can get it outside, the guy replied to you. You idiot, why have fit through the door, the other quite drunken male hero said to his sloshed friend, and you held your face as neutrally as possible. Thank you for considering the building, you replied dryly, and the second guy gave you double finger guns and a cheery wink. I gotcha, he replied, swaying in his seat. And you girls? You then turned your attention to the other girls on the table there. Nemuri seemed fine this time, but the other girls looked a little tipsy. The night is still young, one of the girls slurred. I'll take them home soon, Nemuri said to you, and you nodded. I'll call a taxi for the boys then, you replied to her, and then left to make the call. When the taxi turned up 10 minutes later, you helped the two inebriated males to the waiting vehicle outside, and then helped them in and waved them off. 2 down, a few to go, you thought as you walked back into the bar and continued cleaning up. Slowly more and more people left, until it was just Nemuri and her 2 female colleagues and a smattering of other patrons, but most of the noisy crowd had dwindled now, so you were able to overhear the conversation happening at your table of interest. I can't believe you aren't taken already, one of the girls slurred to Nemuri. Or are you into girls? Nemuri smiled sadly and put her glass with sparkling water down after taking a sip. Oh, well, I have found someone, but they don't notice me, and after what happened, before, I think I've lost all chance with them. But this might be my calling in life. Maybe I'm not meant to be with anyone. Maybe I'm just meant to be a mother to all the upcoming hero women. Give them some guidance, teach them some life lessons, Nemuri mused. I guess I've just made peace with it. You looked up at her over the top of the bar as you crouched to put some boxes away underneath, and noted that she had said all of this without looking in your direction. She hadn't meant for you to have heard that, meaning she hadn't said it to get your attention. That's just how she really felt. Oh, you could get anyone you wanted, the other girl said. Apparently not, Nemuri replied. But, like I said, I'm okay with that. I need to be happy with myself. I can't look for happiness in someone else. You liked that she had had an attitude change. This was the kind of girl that you were looking for, independent, strong, and happy in herself. The girls talked a little more after that, but you had one eye on the time now. Closing time was rapidly approaching, and you were stuffed, so you were working out what to do with these last few people so you could get going home as quickly as possible. Anyway, girls, I got to get you home safe and sound, Nemuri suddenly said, and you looked over at her again. She stood up and reached for each of the girls' empty glasses, and then started walking over to you. You turned to her and was about to say something when she passed the glasses to you over the bar top, but the sudden sound of someone throwing up caught her attention and she spun around to see what was going on. You too looked past her and saw one of her colleagues was bent over sideways and was throwing up right beside her own chair. God, you groaned, grabbing a wet cloth from the wipe-up area. Nemuri, here, you called, showing her the wet cloth before tossing it gently to her over the bar top. She caught it and headed back to her friend while you grabbed some other stuff and put it on a tray and then came over. I'm so sorry, her colleague slurred, spit and dribble sliding down the side of her chin when she looked up. It's fine, Nemuri said, placing the wet cloth over the vomit on the floor. I deal with this a lot, you commented as you approached the small group and placed the tray down on the table. You then handed Nemuri a clean cloth to wipe her friend's face with, as well as a small pail for the girl to hold in front of her face in case she had any more contents to bring up. The other drunk colleague watched on and gave words of sympathy, but it was mainly just you and Nemuri who did most of the work. Best get her home, Nemuri said to you once she had sorted her friend out. Could you call a taxi for us, please? I'll go do that now. Would you like me to drop you home after? You asked Nemuri. She looked at you with surprise, pausing for a second before replying. Oh, sorry, I was going to care for these girls on their trip home. I'll get the taxi to drop me home to my place afterwards, she said. I see, you replied, then picked up the now messy tray and walked back to the bar area. Well, that was stupid, Wyan. Now you look overly eager. While you were berating yourself, Nemuri was quietly very happy. She hadn't been expecting you to make such an offer. She thought that you absolutely despised her. You made the call for another taxi and then went back to assist in any other way. Nemuri seemed to have it all under control now, and you marvelled at the way that she handled everything with calmness. It was while she was sitting and talking with the girls that you were walking around and putting the chairs up for the night, and you realised time was running out to be able to get her number at the very least. Every time you walked past them, you stole a glance at her, hoping to catch her eye so that you could maybe indicate for her to step aside with you for a second so you could ask her, but she was always way too preoccupied with the others to notice any subtle hints from you. Finally, your bar phone rang, and you walked over to answer it. The taxi was calling to let you know that they were parked outside. "Thank you," you said to the driver, and then hung up the phone. The second that you put the phone down, Nemuri looked at you. "Taxi's here," you said as you walked over. "Okay, time to go," Nemuri said to both girls, and got on one side of the colleague who had been throwing up and helped her to her feet. "Wayan, could you please assist my other colleague?" she then petitioned of you. You nodded and turned to the other drunken woman. "Do you need assistance to walk?" you asked her. "No, I can manage," she slurred as she got to her feet and stumbled a little. "If you need to, please hold on to my arm," you offered. She still refused, but you stayed close just in case she fell and you needed to grab her quickly. Unfortunately, you were so focused on her that you didn't have a chance to talk to Nemuri, and all the girls were in the back of the taxi before you knew it. "Thank you," Nemuri said out the window to you as the taxi pulled away from the curb. You nodded, standing there with a stern frown on your face, annoyed that you hadn't had the chance to get her details as you watched the taxi drive off down the road. "She'll be back in," you thought as you turned to head back to the bar. "You can get it then." But you had really wanted it now. You'd made up your mind now, and you'd missed an opportunity, and that frustrated you. Walking back into the building, you headed for the bar to get a clean cloth to wipe the final table down, the table that Nemuri and her hero mates had been at. And as you walked over, you spotted a purse sitting under the table, leaning up against the stem of the table leg, so you curiously bent down and picked it up. "This must be one of the girls," you thought as you turned it over. "I'll give it to Nemuri next time I see her." Just then the door to the bar flung open, and Nemuri stepped in hurriedly, her eyes searching the bar, then settling on you and the purse that you were holding. "Oh, I'm so sorry, that's mine," she said as she walked over and held her hand out for it. You made to give it to her, but once you placed it in her hand, you didn't let it go. She pulled a little, and then looked from the purse up to you. "If you give me your number, I'll let you take the purse," you said with a small lopsided smirk. And that is the end. Oh, you are so keen, aren't you, Wayan? Yes, she says yes. I just thought I'd let you know that. And they do end up together and everything is great. The end. Sorry it was so short, but I have so many other books and one-shots to get through. Next week, we will be diving into Demon Slayer. Yes, new content. My Tier 1 Patreon members, the Bri Approves tier, will be getting to choose who will be the first on my Demon Slayer one-shots list. So stay tuned for that and I'll see you all then.